Welcome everyone to the LCS post-game lobby. Indeed, thank you very much, Laura. I'm joined by Deficio, Foxdrop, and Vitality's Kikis. Wow, this is kind of a blast from the past. It's been a long time since you've been on the analyst desk set. But first up, congratulations. That was a huge victory. What was it like from your perspective? What got you to win?
The thing is that last week we played bottom 5 teams and we went to all. The first game was kind of shaky, but the second one was more convincing. And I didn't really know what to think coming into this week playing a top tier team. Because the scrims, they went a bit worse than last week, I would say, with me. So I wasn't sure, but yeah, I was really looking forward because I didn't know how it's gonna play out, and we did it. We played really well. It wasn't a stomp, I guess, but it was a really clean game. So
it was pretty
Kinda
close.
stompy.
It was kind of stompy until they won that fight at the end. I think from the analyst perspective, Deficio, we haven't heard from you yet. How much was it Vitality showing up on the day, and how much was it Fnatic playing out of character?
I don't think actually Fnatic played that much out of character. I feel like their bot lane has always been super aggressive and something you could punish. Very few teams have been able to do it, however. They're often very concerned about saving their own mid laner, but what I really like was that Jizuke didn't need a whole lot of help. And you had Zyra Khan bot lane, so by just going bot lane over and over, like they could kill Hittersang like 2 or 3 times in the early game. And I really like that strategy, because I think if your mid laner can just stand alone 1v1, you can actually just abuse, especially the bot lane. And that's what they did. Also, the Galio Alistar, people are going to go now on Reddit and say this draft sucked. Everything was bad about it. Blah, blah, blah. I said it was very risky. And it was like an all-in bot lane that really wasn't necessary.
And hard to coordinate also.
Very hard. Still, I think the Vitality early game was just way better than Fnatic's, draft aside.
Do you agree, Fox?
Yeah, I think that Vitality, you're a wonderful, amazing team, not to trash talk, but if you don't win early game, you play as if you are winning early game, even when you're not.
They just turned around the game last week.
I mean,
with you, perhaps it's different. I would say the old Vitality. Well,
that's not me. That's
yeah,
that's an old story.
Yeah, okay, that's the old story. Maybe I shouldn't bring it up. It just seems like you have no pause button for Vitality. Seeing them win the early game, it's so fun to watch because then they actually do. They're really good from that point.
Well, let's dive into that. The fact that a lot what we associated with Gilead's Vitality is the fact that when Vitality got behind, it was hard to turn games around. You did it last week and now as well. What would you say are the biggest changes to how you guys are playing now? I know it's hard for you to compare, but what kind of issues have you think you've overcome with the team?
Yeah, I would guess a question like that to compare is up to teammates and coach, not to me. But I think my main strength right now is playing really smart. I think I'm a really smart player when it comes to League, and I think everything through. I think about pathing, I think about builds. I think a lot of the players are wrong about idea of the game, and how to play it out, and they're behind. Like I think as a player, I'm usually step ahead, and I'm using that to full potential.
Deficio described you as high risk, high reward as a player. Do you agree with that?
I don't really agree with that, Deficio. I think I'm just, most of the things I do is calculated, and it's based off, I guess, my experience and instinct. Like, I think people maybe undervalued my experience because no team really wanted to give me a chance, except Vitality for Summer Split. But I think that experience that I've been in LCS, I've won ULCS playoffs and both splits, and been to many tournaments.
I think it's important to know that high risk, high reward doesn't necessarily mean something bad. Is that you have a playstyle where you want to fight the enemy jungler, you want to invade for yourself, you want to make yourself strong, which is always a risk, because if that backfires, if your laners are not able to help you when you're invading, like against the Giants, Giants game of last week as an example.
Yeah, but is it a high risk if it's seem to work every time now?
Is it the fact that
it didn't work every time, and I guarantee you it will not work every time?
Well, I think that Kikis' line of thinking is, correct me if I'm wrong, high risk, high reward, but for you there's actually not that big of a risk because you have a very good knowledge of where you can be at which points, how far you can push it, and what every matchup looks like. Is that correct assessment?
Yeah, I just know how to abuse the matchups, and I played twice Chandler into Nocturne, which is a good matchup, and you can punish early game, but people still thinking that picking Nocturne into Chandler is a good idea. And that's me being one step ahead, because I knew they're going to pick Nocturne, and I let them pick Nocturne, and I know we're going to get ahead on top of that.
Oh, well, you are the player of the game once again, so in the minds of the Twitter.
So no love for Attila?
3 or?
Yeah, no, I think 2 or 3.
3.
3
That's
now.
3 for
I got
That's
it.
3 out of 3.
Every game.
Every game.
75%. That's, and we saw the leaderboard today. The maximum votes is 5. So you're actually right behind whoever got the most
He's tied
votes.
with Perks and
Tied
Niski
with Perks
now.
and Niski.
And it's only.
Oh man,
only
this
the
Perks
second
got it
week.
earlier.
And mental.
Wow.
So, well, tell me then, like, you obviously have been sitting out for a couple of months. You didn't play competitively at all, really. Then you had to stint with Illuminar Gaming as well. What's it like to be back? And how confident are you that you may be the best jungler in the league?
I'm really glad to be back. At EU Masters, like before EU Masters, 1 week before EU Masters, I switched to jungle. So people were saying, holy, Kikis is really horrible when they saw me in the group stage, right? Because
I didn't
it
say
was
that.
one week after me jungling, right? But at the end, I was winning like everyone. My Olaf, I was getting a lot of pressure. And I felt really strong, even in scrims against other teams with Illuminar. And now I'm step above in terms of like, well, I'm like LCS is kind of another level. Even though I love my guys at Illuminar, it's kind of like
It is a step
they
higher.
don't
you
have the
can say that.
experience that other LCS players have, and don't have the structure that the organization gives. But it was a test for myself to prove to, like, not to other people even, but prove to myself, because I wasn't sure if I'm even good or not, because I've been sitting out of LCS for 1 year, and before that I got relegated with Monkeys, right? But now I feel pretty confident. Like,
Do you think the best brings out the best in you? The fact that you're playing with all these EU top class players now, not to say anything bad on EU Masters, but it is, of course, not the same level as these very developed players in the EU.
I think my level is like I learned throughout those 2 weeks, but I've only been here 2 weeks, right? It's not like instantly I came LCS and I'm good. I was already good beforehand, and I was playing with Illumina, and then I was like playing solo queue like 15 hours a day when we had like 1 month break because there was no tournaments. And for me, it's really way too early to say if I'm best jungler
I
in
have
Europe.
to ask Kikis,
It's really
because
too
in
early.
the past, I remember that you sometimes were, I wouldn't say cocky, I would say sometimes a bit cocky. You know,
Yeah.
you're not afraid to say how it is, and if you feel that you're the strongest. So that's why I threw that out there now.
I just think I'm realistic.
Okay.
If I think I'm bad, I'm gonna say I'm bad.
Okay. Do you think Kikis can be the best jungler in Europe?
Okay, I'm not gonna hear now.
Haven't seen enough, that's for sure.
Second half of the split, man.
I'm definitely not instantly gonna call him the best jungler.
But who would you put him up with? Like, who are like the other junglers?
I mean, if you look at the top guys right now, Max Law is definitely up
when he's
there.
not playing Rengar.
Brox is out by default because they beat him.
Definitely not out. A lot of people have had a
No,
lot of
no,
praise
of
for Brox
course.
as well. I actually think we have a lot of junglers where they're very inconsistent, which actually now makes it interesting with
Yeah.
Kikis. Because I feel like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, Max is looking great in every game he's playing. You know, I really love what he's doing. He's my #1 pick. But now, after Misfits have actually struggled a bit, Maxwell has really lost some impact. I'm not saying Kikis is the best,
No.
but because I feel like other junglers have shown some inconsistencies, the fight for first place changes almost every week. At least, because like Yankees is not up there right now.
No, and I was not asking for a really serious
think it's a cool
statement.
discussion.
It was just
Yeah.
nice to discuss it. But what I also think is really interesting, I think just a couple more things about this is you just said it, you have such an insane career. You've been everywhere, right? You've won the prizes, you've been the best player on teams, you've struggled, you've gone from one team to the other, you've had some heartbreaks on teams. What does it feel like for you now to come back to LCS as a surprise for many people, win your 3 games, get 3 best player of the game awards, just like being on top of the world, basically?
I mean, even 2 weeks ago, right? Because I think 14 days ago I joined. Like actually, like 2 weeks ago Friday,
Yeah.
I came to the Vitality Gaming House. I came the same day. I was sure it's 100% in. Like I even packed before the call. I do a call. Oh, you're in? Okay. The same day I'm leaving. And before that, it sucked because I was like, okay, for this year I'm not gonna be LCS. I'm just gonna like try at EU Masters again and maybe try to turn my career around. Maybe hope for the next year. And then I get this. I'm like in-house sub at the start, and I'm like, okay, that's my chance. They want to give me a chance. I'm gonna prove my best, and yeah, it's been working so far, and it's really great. I'm not gonna stop. I'm still. I guess I wouldn't say I'm satisfied yet because I wanna make sure we're in playoffs and I have a good playoff showing. Like it never stops for me. Like if it would ever stop to me, I wouldn't be here, right? Because I've been out LCS, in LCS, out LCS, in LCS again, and I just have that drive in me that I've missed out 2 times on going to Worlds I don't want to miss this time.
May I just jump in because this is so interesting to me. Do you feel you've changed as a person? Because if we cast our minds back to G2 Esports, the moment that Expect came into that lineup, we don't exactly know what went on, but it was definite that you would feel better being the only top laner, right? And being the one to play in those games. Now, 1 year and a half, 2 years down the line, actually, you willfully say, yes, I will take that sub position because I want to learn and I want to just be better again and get back there. Do you feel like you've changed as a person as well?
I'm growing.
Yeah.
You always grow as a person. Last 3 years changed me in a good, healthy way as a person. I understand more and yeah, just more knowledge about life and I deal with stuff more easily. But thing is, I'm not in the shoes I was in G2, right? Gilius is in my shoes that I was at G2.
Yeah.
And it sucks to be that guy. I'm the new guy. I'm here fighting for the job. I'm trying my best. I don't really have any pressure on me. I don't have bad light on me. Like, it's Gilius' shoes. And I feel bad for him in a way that's like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to come here and take your job and screw you. Like, of course,
everyone's looking at him now.
Everyone wants to
Yeah.
win, right? So they're just gonna choose the better option, and if I'm the better option, okay. But it just I feel bad for Gilius that he has been put or like that's
He's not
it's
playing.
about the situation. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter
yeah,
if
yeah.
he put himself or team puts him. It's behind the scenes, whatever. But
Yeah, he's not playing.
I mean, because that's the thing that sucks the most is we don't know if Vitality with Gilius would have gone 3-0 now as well. But what people saw was Vitality started losing games. They get a new jungler. He wins 3 games in a row. He gets player of the game three times. Like, you're instantly looking at Gilius and saying, oh, he was a problem then. And that is the thing where you don't know if he was the problem. It could have been 10 other things as well. So that's obviously tough. I just have one follow-up question also to the Shocks ones. A lot of viewers, obviously, they just see players when they're in the LCS, and otherwise they never see them. How is it as a veteran player to be in the LCS, win a title, and then leave the LCS and just sit and wait for an offer? Like, that must be like the worst, most boring feeling ever of thinking, does anyone even want me anymore?
usually in life you say that you only start appreciating something once you lose it, right? So when I was in LCS, I was just used to it. Like I got from Challenger to LCS, and then I was like keeping the same level even when I was out. I knew like I'm gonna come back, like with Fnatic Academy and then and Monkeys. But after Monkeys being relegated, I was in a tough spot, and yeah, it does suck. It does suck a lot. That once you lose it, you're like, oh, like what do I do now? If I'm ever gonna come back? If like what's the opinion that people have of me? Even though like I'm a veteran, I can be like I can trust my abilities, but why would they trust? Why would anyone else trust me when I had such poor showings in LCS? Even though there's a lot of factors coming into that, and it's not always up to me. I made bad decisions in my career beforehand, and joining Monkeys wasn't a good decision as well, because both Monkeys and Fnatic in 2016, after I left G2, I joined Singing Ships, and I just drowned into them, with them. So
Yeah, and now you're making or keeping the ship afloat, I would say, in Vitality. That's very good. Wow, this is incredibly interesting. It's super cool, and it's also a lot to think about. You know, there's also redemption story, but also when you look at everything, this can be so fleeting. You know, these are guys that at 6, 17, 18, you guys become pro. You get the highest highs. You get to live in a gaming house. You got fans all over the world, and then it can be gone in an instant. So I think it speaks to you, and it speaks to your character that you said, you know what, I'm not just gonna sit by. Mysterious Monkeys, that was a disaster for me. I'm going to play an EU Master. I'm going to see where I can go. I think it's paying off for that.
Also want to praise the European ecosystem a little bit here. I feel like there's way more chances for a player who's not in the LCS to still show himself.
Yeah.
With national leagues, with EU Masters especially. Because when I saw Kikis at EU Masters, I thought to myself, wow, he's a jungler now. That's interesting. I didn't even like, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, no one is picking up Kikis in the LCS. Like, there's new players now we're talking about. But then I see in the EU Masters playing a bunch of games, getting to the final. I'm like, all right, that's pretty interesting. You know, this guy might actually be back now. And more teams obviously suddenly start paying attention to it. And this will happen to a lot of players in the future as well. So
Yeah.
the fact we're getting more layers in Europe, is so key for players actually getting second chances of getting back into the LCS.
Yeah, and for EU Masters, that's not only do you scout out players, you scout out online talent, apparently. But when I was casting
everything.
but no, when I was casting it, there are names, not just kickers, but obviously Larson, who is playing for HTK today, Neon, who was playing for Millennium, is now on UOL. Someone else I had in my mind who I've completely forgotten, gone blank on that one. Cage sorry, he was playing jungle as well. Yeah, it is exactly that. You know, you do get these more opportunities to really show yourself, and I think that as the LCS has grown, I think that more teams are willing to give players a try now. I think maybe in the past it was more of like an old boys club, and now I think that you are seeing teams willing to take more risks, I would say. And hey, maybe even in future splits when we have this long-term partnership coming into EU, without the risk of relegations, I think that does kind of incentivize that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, getting fresh EU talent in and giving more people chances, which is really all you're asking for as a player. Yeah, I love to see it.
Yeah, awesome. Obviously, we just announced that EU Masters will be coming back as well, so we'll be looking at that. Now I do want to shift the conversation to the EU LCS and to the race for the standings, and a lot of crazy things happened today. So let's take a look at what the standings look like after tonight's games. Misfits Gaming lost another one. They lost versus Giants, and that is so important because we talked about Giants at the beginning of the day. If they could go on that miracle run, and hey, it's looking more likely now. What do we think about the changed standings right now, Martin?
I think the Giants thing is interesting, obviously, if they win tomorrow.
Yeah, versus Rocket, by the way.
Exactly, it's against Rocket. So not only will they actually beat Rocket, they'll get closer to the playoff standings because Rocket is the team that's above them right now. They obviously still need to catch a team further up in Splice at the moment. But I'm just looking at the middle with Schalke, Vitality, Splice. And in my mind, I'm seeing a top 6 take off a little bit in terms of, you know, results and play. And I'm seeing less of the big group of 8 teams still fighting for playoffs. But that obviously relies on Splice, Vitality, and Schalke to remain consistent.
Well, we have your play predictions in just a bit. I just want to hang on this one because I want to talk about the top 3 from Kikiz's perspective. A couple of weeks ago, it was all about Misfits, Fnatic, and G2 are so much more stronger than anyone else in the league. Now, that has changed a lot. What do you think about the top 3? And do you think it's going to look like that when we go into playoffs?
From my perspective, I mean, I joined last week, right?
Yeah, but you've watched.
A bit. All the teams were at the top, but G2, after Funneling got nerfed, they look really sloppy. I love Jankos, and I'm friends with him, but he's been looking weak lately, doing a lot of mistakes.
He admitted himself, so...
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And like, I'm curious if he can pick it up, but because even against H2K today, right? They looked really sloppy. Their game wasn't clean at all. They were like level 1. They screwed up, and then after the Baron fights and stuff, and their draft was maybe questionable as well. And Misfits, I think they're maybe. I think the thing is that the 3 teams are kind of going down with level, and others are catching up. So it's not going to be such a discrepancy.
Discrepancy here.
Yes, between them, but it's going to be a lot closer. And I think this week, next week, like all the weeks are going to be really competitive, and it can shake up anyway. If we are on such a good trend, we play UL tomorrow, and next week we play H2K and Schalke. So if we would win those 3 games, then we can be top 2 as well. But or last week is Misfits and G2, which is gonna be really interesting. I think it's gonna be fight for the top 2 slots.
Yeah, I mean, if you beat those 2 teams, you're probably taking the top 2 because you're knocking them down as well. So
is that what you guys are thinking about already, or is it purely let's just win what's in front of us and look for playoffs?
For me personally, and I guess it can go to all of us, that this match was really important to us because it was like, okay, if we win, we're gonna be in playoffs, and we still can fight for first place. Or second, just top 2 for better playoff position. If we would lose, then the top 2 was probably out of the question, and playoffs wasn't like guaranteed. Like it's still not guaranteed, but I expect us to get some few more wins to get it. So I think we're on a good way. Like both us and Schalke, maybe can still grab it up.
Yeah. Before we go to the Fishow's playoff predictions, do you know that we have a and Fox drops after? Do you know that we have a caster prediction?
Yeah, I don't really look at it too much, and I guess all of you guess Fnatic to win.
Except for your girl.
I like it.
Why did you predict Vitality?
I thought that the kick-is factor could bring something that Fnatic wasn't prepared for. The fact that you are high risk, high reward, I think could
Hey, there we go.
backfire for Fnatic because, same like with Misfits, they're doing so well. So I expect them to drop a couple of games in the next couple of weeks and maybe try a couple of new things. You guys were the right man at the right time, and you drove it home. Booyah! I also came up with that because it's totally result-based analysis, but that's what you guys do
That's the best
anyway.
analysis anyway.
That's the best analysis. I'm sorry, this isn't about me. It's about Vitality
No
and
risk,
you
no
guys.
fun.
Exactly.
It's about the playoffs. Official, let's go. Let's take a look at your playoff predictions at the end of the split. Fnatic numero uno, then Misfits Gaming, Splice, G2 Esports in fourth with Splice over Dem. Team Vitality makes it, and you leave everyone out of playoffs that are out of it currently.
Yeah.
I guess
First up-
this was before the
This was
Fnatic game.
before
This was
today.
before the game.
Okay,
This was
So
before
it's
the
just
game.
made.
I can understand.
This
Yeah.
was made yesterday, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
So
That's the interesting part. It was before this week.
yeah, obviously the Vitality win there against Fnatic might make them jump up a little bit, but I think the Splice one is probably the one people look at
Yes.
the most. Splice remaining schedule is the easiest among any team in the EU LCS. They have H2K, Rocket, then Fnatic, which is a tough one, Schalke, and Giants. So I'm looking at H2K, Rocket, Giants as 3 wins for Splice, and I think they beat Schalke then on the last day as well. That's 4 wins and then only losing to Fnatic, and that would actually put them higher because G2, on the other hand, they play Fnatic tomorrow, they play Misfits next week, and they play Vitality in the third
That
week.
plays into Vitality's favor with the way things are now with Vitality beating Fnatic. That sounds like G2 has such a rough schedule that you guys might get in that top 2.
Definitely.
Sounds
I'm
good.
hoping. I'm gonna make sure that happens.
There we go. So, Kiki, is there anything else that jumps out to you when it comes to purely who makes it to playoffs? You basically think things are going to change, are not going to change in terms of like Giants will not make the miracle run.
No.
Rocket is not going to make it. Does anyone disagree with that?
No, I think the playoff team are pretty set.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would play Splice lower and Schalke higher.
Yeah.
And then, well, of course, on this one, I would place my
Vitality.
team higher.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And other than that, I guess, yeah.
I mean, I felt dirty putting Splice third. But I kept looking at the strength of schedule. I'm like, they're like, even if they don't play super well, which is actually the case right now, they have so many of the bottom teams where I'm like, they're,
Data-driven decision.
yeah, they actually, I tried to just do like, if they win all the games I expect them to win, where do they end in my standings? That's third place.
We definitely thought about it. Now, Foxdrop, he probably just did like this. Let's take a look at your predictions.
That is
Foxy.
not fair. But
There we
probably
go.
accurate.
Fnatic
Oh my
number
God,
one,
Splice 4 for you,
Misfits
idiot?
Okay,
Yeah.
so surprising to me, actually not so surprising. When we talked last week, we were all about, on that Rocket hype train, the possibility. Is
Yeah.
that now gone for you guys? Because they could still go 1-1 this week.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
they obviously will go 1-1
Yes.
because it is the prophecy for Rocket. No, I honestly, the 6th and 7th was kind of the hardest one for me, I would say, because there are 7 teams who I think are player quality teams, and it's going to come down to probably the last weeks to decide. I mean, this sounds obvious, but
Yeah.
it's and I just think Rocket they show us some things, but I'm not 100%
Tell
sold
us
on them.
the strength of schedule of Rocket officially.
Right, and off the top of my head, without even looking at anything, I can see that Fnatic and Misfits are also on Rocket's schedule, so they have to play some pretty blooming tough opponents, and that doesn't play into their favor. Obviously, I must have slipped to my keyboard when I put Vitality in 6th. What's up with that?
Jeez, yeah.
But
I meant to
your
type
mistake.
1.
yeah,
Basic
exactly.
mistake.
That's,
I mean,
that's my
nobody could
bad,
know what
but-
would happen today. Next time, we're just going to look at those again. But, I don't think it's fair, I think, that we did it before week 7. And it's only fair that you guys now should deserve actually a higher ranking.
But all the other teams also won. That's why it's
Yeah,
actually
sure.
hard to...
So talk to me about Schalke 04 specifically. Kikis, I'd love to know from you. We've had the story that we've been following that Schalke has been pretty much failing for a long time, and then they didn't make it to playoffs again in spring. What do you think of them now?
I guess the meme of year of Nukedag
We didn't say it.
might be not a meme anymore.
Hey, this
Might
guy
not
gets
be.
it.
Still might be. I mean, we're gonna see. But I get.
But you're buying into the hype.
It's working.
How can I buy into the hype if it's my opponents? Not
Yeah,
for
okay,
me?
sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Ooh.
Now, it's
Sorry,
not
Karen,
just
sorry,
the
I
year of-
interrupted you.
Yeah, sorry, we're interrupting you.
Thing is, it's kind of hard to say about them. Chachi has been, I guess, underperforming at the start of the split.
Yeah.
And he had a huge poppy play, but it kind of was set up to him as well, I guess. And others, I think, thing is, I don't feel like they have a star or someone like even Yungdak. I think they're just kind of winning as a team, I guess, playing the tank comps with Sejuani jungle. I'm not sure even if they play Gragas, but I think they're just a stable team trying to play schematic and structured. And they are putting the pieces together. And yeah, I think they're gonna go up in the standings,
That's an
maybe
honest
above
assessment.
G2.
I actually, when we talk about the year of the Nuke Duck and all those kind of Mays flying around, and you said that you don't think that Schalke has like a 1-star and stuff like that. So my question to you actually is, on the other hand, do you think that there's someone in the EU LCS that people don't really talk about, don't consider, that is rather instrumental to their team's success?
I think I'm not long enough here to make that
I
assumption.
mean, if you've watched every broadcast, you would have been brainwashed by, you know, Memento for Rocket and for the Year of the Duck and Caps for Fnatic. I'm just kidding.
But we talk about them a lot. I want to hear about someone that we don't talk about. You know, there must be, because there's always stuff going on behind the scenes, right? Stuff that we don't necessarily know.
Maybe we'll ask him again in a couple.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, for now I don't really.
We'll stick you on VOD review from week 1 to week 7.
Yeah, and then give us a name.
And then you can answer the
Definitely
question.
don't focus on getting to playoffs. Just watch all the VODs of all the shows. There we go. Well, we'll see. A lot has changed already, and this is what's so interesting about the playoff race. We've been talking about how so many teams could make it until now, but depending on tomorrow, it feels like that top 6 could become much more chiseled out, and it will become extremely hard for teams like Rocket, Giants, and Unicorns above to get there.
Seeing as Rocket is now a win behind Splice and 2 wins behind Schalke and Vitality, if they lose to Giants, while the Giants hype train is then taking off, they're technically only closing in on a team that's outside of playoff.
Yeah.
So if Rocket goes 0-2, it feels to me like with them having Fnatic Misfits in the last week and also playing Splice next week, that schedule must be too tough.
That's so tough.
Also, they would not go 1-1 then. They would actually go 0-2, which is, I guess, way worse.
Well, that's what we thought of Schalke, and they went 1-1, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had Fnatic G2, obviously. You're right. They did end up doing well there. Technically today, Rocket actually could have beaten Schalke.
Yeah.
Did you watch that game?
Yeah, they threw really hard.
Yeah, I was like, they got this game
I didn't
now.
see exactly, but they were ahead, and then they threw out Baron. I heard Amazing got cuts.
Yeah, he walked up by the Baron area and then got...
Right.
5
Rihanna
red
ult.
people killed him.
5-man Shockwave from Blank, which is insane, by the way. It's on Reddit. Go check it out.
Well, Foxdrop's point was, though, that you know, you get in a position where you need a 5-man Orianna ultimate as the only thing. And then it becomes really hard to make those later strategic decisions because you don't really need the Drake, but you don't want them to have it, but you have a Ryze who's split pushing. Like, it becomes very hard to make the right decisions when you're so far behind and only have one good fight.
It's kind of funny that when you play the team comp and you lose all of the winning conditions, and you're like, guys, what do we do? I guess we hope for a 5-man Orianna ulti. Oh, here we go.
Hey,
Happened this time.
Calculated.
But it is actually very fair because, like, technically, if you ever get in a situation like where you need a 5-man Shockwave, it's pretty bad. Like, they lost every every lane. And I said in the draft when I saw it, I was like, nope, this is not Rocket. When they draft tank junglers, scaling all around.
A lot was banned out, though. I don't know what else he would have picked there.
I'm sure they are more aggressive junglers.
Gragas is also not
for.
bad.
No, but then go Gragas with more aggressive lanes.
Yeah, okay.
Don't go tank top lane Mundo,
Orianna.
scaling mid lane or scaling bot lane with the tank jungle. They lost, like, because the problem for Rocket is, even if the draft can make sense, they play so poorly when they don't have anyone who can actually make something happen, especially in the jungle. So they literally just died left and right. Schalke got a 6-7k goalie without even doing a whole lot, and that's why I was like, this game is over.
Yeah, Kikis, I don't know if you're aware of the stat, but Rocket are, they only win if they're ahead at 15 minutes.
now.
0-7 if they're behind at 15 minutes with any amount of gold, and they're 7-0 when they have an advantage at 15 minutes. So any amount of gold. So they are really win lane, win game, win early game, win game. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow. Maybe they're up versus Giants, so possibly they'll go 1-1. In any case, let's look ahead towards something else tomorrow. Our match of the week, G2 versus Fnatic, which is a crucial game in the battle for the top 3. It's hype, and I'm glad that the hype is back because remember me and the Fish Show, we well, recorded the trailer for the match of the week before G2 lost to Schalke. So we were all like, hype, hype, hype. They're all great. Now Fnatic lost and G2 won. So we're actually correct. It's a great matchup.
They're tied right
They're
now.
tied.
Second place, the best we can hope for. Both teams, very high highs. And I'm not going to say anything about the lows. Great highs. And they're going to play towards the highs.
Okay, Kikis, what do you think about, of course, we look at Capsters Perks. What about the matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the video was pretty hype. I actually got goosebumps, so good on that.
Thank you. You can come back whenever.
I guess it's just gonna be battle of who's the best mid laner. I think that's gonna be the main topic for the game. I'm curious if Broxa can punish Jankos, because actually I'm not sure if any of the junglers have the playstyle of punishing other jungler. Usually, I think most people farm here. That's why also I guess I'm doing well, because I just abuse that they like to farm, and yeah, I guess they're kind of dead even except for the jungle part. So I think if Broxa can make that edge for them and play through mid lane to shut down Perks, I think Fnatic can be the one in favor.
Who would you rather have in your team, Caps or Perks?
It's always answer Jizuke. I don't want another mid
If you weren't in Vitality.
No, I don't. I mean, I played with Perks for 1 year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, true.
So I would
And you still
prefer
don't pick him.
Perks.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
He did
I'm
now.
saying
He did
I
now.
would prefer Perks when I know him so well.
So I think about this matchup that's interesting to me is I feel like the way you punish Fnatic in the early game is either you try and kill Source with a counter pick top, or you try and punish an over-aggressive bot lane.
Alright.
Now, punishing a bot lane for G2 seems almost impossible because they never want to play on bottom side. It's really not their play style. So maybe it's Wonder on a counter pick top lane that they have to play on, because I think going mid, you can try, and if it works, you're going to get an insane win out of it. But I'm just afraid Hylissang is in there and Brock is in there, and then it can backfire super quick for G2. So I just want to see what strategy they come in, because I don't feel like Fnatic needs to do too much different. People will say different draft, obviously, these kind of things. But I feel like they should just play how they played, except for the Vitality game, the last couple of weeks, because then they should be the better team.
Yeah. We look at this match of the weekend, I look at the top three, and I think at certain points in the split, we said, okay, Misfits is probably the strongest team no matter what. They're going to go to the playoffs or whatever. Are we thinking towards, are we getting a new champion? Is Fnatic going to recover? Is there a possibility that there is a new finalist? Is there a possibility that we see a Vitality or a Splice? Is that all on the cards, or is it too early? No, it's not too early. Tell me right now.
Based on today,
Yeah, today.
I mean, if
Result-based
open.
analysis.
you said there's a new champion, I need to go home and make a video on it real quick for that ad revenue. But are we getting a new champion? 'Cause I
I'm
need to
asking
find
you
out.
if at least we're getting a new finalist. Or a different one than in the last
My
two
eyes are on you,
finals.
by the way.
It could be also for me.
Yeah.
Also, Misfits
Fnatic,
could also be-
Vitality.
Fnatic will make the final, but I don't think it's guaranteed they're going to play G2 or Misfits, which I think a lot of people a couple
Oh,
of
that
weeks
is so
ago
hype.
said it's going to
Yeah.
be Misfits or G2 versus Fnatic. I think if we had a best of 5 right now between Vitality and Misfits, I would probably give a slight edge to Misfits, but not even close to like heavy favorites, because with current form, I mean, Vitality could win a BO5 against them. And again, if you asked me that 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, 0 chance Misfits lose this BO5. But it's obviously based on very few weeks now, but we're seeing G2 and Misfits drop games, and Fnatic just did today. It is not as clear cut who is instantly the best. I still think
it's
Fnatic's
exciting.
best.
It's so exciting.
I think that actually Misfits have chosen a really good time to be rubbish, because now they have time to work on it, right? And they can see their flaws and what teams have been able to exploit from them. And then when they go into the playoffs and they start playing the best of 5s and stuff, you would think hopefully at that point
They're
that,
extremely good at preparing for best. of
right,
They are,
that
definitely.
they would have the solutions there.
Yeah, interesting.
What I would say is also that I don't think this game was that much of a slip up, or that we should judge them based off this game, because I'm pretty
Fnatic or
no, Misfits.
Right.
Because after Joko Camille game, where he failed 3 E's against us in a row, right? When he could have maybe carried the game. They probably thought, okay, Joko cannot play Talia at all. It's more skilled champion, right? And I think picking Rengar into it, like Rakan, Rengar and stuff, it just, I guess, disrespect We're like, okay, we are on the first place. We are playing Giants that haven't been doing well. We're just gonna not prepare as well to the draft. And yeah, I think they kind of got into the head.
Would
It's
you have
always-
picked something different? Sorry,
Sorry.
just for the Rengar, because that was the first time we saw Rengar on the LCS, right? So I'm just curious, like,
We didn't see him actually.
no, we didn't see him. Yeah, we're still waiting for his first showing. Would you have picked something different in that scenario? Because I think Camille was banned, Kindred was banned, and Nocturne was banned, and they went for the Rengar. So would you have chosen something different in that
The
scenario?
problem isn't the pick, but if there's already 3 junglers banned, and one of them is not Talia, that's the problem.
Yeah, because they first picked something. What did they first pick? Didn't they? I think they let Talia through. I'm pretty sure Talia was.
Yeah, it was.
The
first
on
pick is
those-
Zir.
on,
Yeah.
First pick is Zir.
Exactly. So you just think they should have first picked Talia? They just think, yeah,
Well,
there you go.
European mid laners and Azir is not looking good
No.
right now.
It's like the NA Jace.
It is.
He
It's
was
real
it.
bad at the moment.
yeah, what's going on there? For Misfits, we never know if it's like, whenever with drafts, we never know if it's like cockiness or if it's let's try something, let's try something because we are ahead. So we won't make a judgment. I mean, you guys can, but
I mean, I just think if you're Misfits right now, as Foxtrot just said, it's a healthy point where you do have some issues, as long as you can still get your top 2 spot. And with the wins they build up, I would normally say they should be fine because they will beat Giants and these guys, but they just lost to Giants right now. That's one of those games where I actually didn't write Misfits. It's one of the ones to skip, but I'm sure they have a bunch of very tough matchups over the next couple of days. And if you don't start fixing now some of your problems, you might actually drop too many games and then lose your top 2 spot. But I think still Misfits for players will be fine.
we'll see tomorrow because all teams will be up on the plate again, and let's see which matchups exactly. Misfits is up first.
Right there, if they lose tomorrow, then you're panicking a little bit if you're Misfits, just based on standing.
That's a good matchup. This whole day is actually finger looking good because we have Giants versus Roccat. Giants won today. Roccat lost. Roccat always goes 1-1. All that memeage. But if either of them want to keep their chances alive, they have to win. Vitality versus the Unicorns of Love. That is cool. That's your old organization.
It's a really long time ago.
Yeah.
though. Like over 3. Actually, not over. Like 3 years ago.
3 years ago, exactly.
That's where it all started, baby.
Yeah.
TF
Gotta
jungle.
remember that.
I mean, if you would compare me to relationships, I guess I have a lot of exes.
Yeah, that's true. It's been around.
Oh, God. And G2 versus Fnatic, our match of the week. We talked about it at length already. All of this looks really good. And Misfits versus Schalke 04 is going to be a banger as well.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Match
Can't
of the
wait.
week, version 2.
Version 2, the marquee matchup, one would say. But over in the NALCS Academy, we still have more League of Legends action. It's going to start at midnight with the Golden Guardians versus the Cloud9. And then after that, we will be rebroadcasting everything from the EU LCS today. So you have a lot to watch. Kikis, thank you so much. It was actually wonderful having you on PGL.
Thank you for
And,
having me.
No problem. Good
Can I
luck.
read the toss at the end?
Good luck tomorrow. Go ahead.
Time for us to log off for the night. Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow for more fights in the EU LCS. Have a great night. That's for you, Dirk.
Do we wave now?